That's the deal. You made the deal.
Alright, so we did World War I. So a brief overview of the war. So the war began on July 28, 1914. It lasted until November 11, 1918. There are over 30 countries involved in the conflict. And World War I killed more people and cost more money than any previous war in history, with a total of 9 million combatants and 5 million civilians, and 186 billion in direct costs, and then another 151 billion in indirect costs.
So the war started because on June 28, 1914, the Archduke Franz Ferdinand, who was the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, was killed by a Serbian nationalist, and after his murder, Austrian agents wanted to investigate the crime in Serbia, but they were denied, so Austria declared war on Serbia and attacked on the 29th of June 1914. And these are the countries involved.
So there were two main sides in this conflict. There were the Allies versus the Central Powers. The Allies were France, Great Britain, Italy, Russia, and then the United States. And those were versus the Central Powers, which is Austria-Hungary, Germany, and then like the Ottoman Empire, which was pretty much Turkey. A number of smaller nations aligned themselves from side to side, but those were the main two sides.
So, to put it simply, Serbia was allied with Russia and France, and Austria and Hungary were allied with Germany. And Russia wouldn't tolerate a mobilized army on its borders after Austria mobilized its army. So in return, Russia mobilized its army, and then from there Germany asked Russia to stop mobilizing its army, and Russia refused. So Germany declared war on Russia on August 1st, 1914. And from there, Germany believed that they were superior to most of the other countries in Europe. They believed they were more technologically advanced and deserved more land. They believed that one big war would end the threat from their biggest rivals in France and Russia. So they declared war on France 2 days after they declared war on Russia, and then from there invaded Belgium, and 2 days after that Austria and Hungary declared war on Russia. Prior to the war, Great Britain, France and Russia declared Belgium's neutrality, and Britain wouldn't accept having a German army in Belgium next door to Great Britain. So they declared war on Germany once they entered Belgium, and all along the United Kingdom never wanted one country to dominate Europe. So once Germany started trying to do that, then Great Britain wanted to stop them. Then after this, when some of the smaller countries got involved, Turkey joined Germany, Italy joined the Allies, Bulgaria joined Germany, and then Romania joined the Allies. Most of the countries that got involved in the war saw it as an opportunity to settle old scores with from past wars. Like France had been beaten badly by Germany in the past, so wanted redemption. The United States became involved when Germany broke a pledge that restricted submarine warfare in the North Atlantic, and then tried to convince Mexico to join the war against America. And America declared war on Germany and Germany's allies on December 7th, 1917. So the main battlefields of the war, there were two main battlefields, the Western Front and the Eastern Front. The Western Front was where France and Great Britain stopped the advance of Germany, and it ran along the border of France and Germany from Switzerland at the bottom all the way up to the English Channel. And this was fought in like muddy trenches and was a stalemate throughout the majority of the war. In 1918, the Allies made an advance that proved, that persuaded the Germans that defeat was inevitable, and from there they signed a peace treaty that essentially ended the war. On the Eastern Front, that stretched from the Baltic Sea to the Black Sea, and that's where Russia and Romania fought against Austria, Bulgaria, Hungary, and Turkey. Russia and Romania eventually signed a treaty that stopped the fighting, but Russia ended up losing a huge amount of land, including what's now Poland, which was previously Russian land. Yeah.
So World War I lasted just over 4 years, and because of that, there were many famous people involved. There were 10 main figures involved in the war. So, on the first one you can see in the top left corner, that is Prime Minister Herbert Asquith. He was the Prime Minister of Britain since 1908, and he saw Britain's entry into World War I. He underestimated the scale of the July crisis, and this led to him losing a lot of support, and he couldn't unite his government, forcing him out of the government. The second one, to his right, is Chancellor Bethmann Hollweg. He was the Chancellor of Imperial Germany until the start of the war. It was his job to try and pry apart the Triple Alliance of Britain, France, and Russia, which he was very unsuccessful due to the actions of the Germans. The next one is General Alexei Brusilov. He was one of the most famous generals in Russia's history around this point. He was the most successful commander in the First World War, and he led the charge of the Russian 8th Army. And he stood out enough with all his successes to be put in charge of the Southwest Eastern Front. And his offensive of 1916 was hugely successful, capturing hundreds of prisoners, taking territory, and distracting the Germans from Verdun at a key moment. The next one, number 4, is Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill was the First Lord of the Admiralty when the war broke out. He was instrumental in keeping the fleet safe and ready in case the acts unfolded. He oversaw the BEF movement, but his interventions, appointments, and actions made him many enemies, and he undermined the reputation of a successful dynamism. Associated heavily with the Gallipoli expedition, he made a few key mistakes which led to him losing his job. The next one is Prime Minister Georges Clemenceau. I have the paper. The next one, General Erich von Stauchen. Stauchen was chosen to replace Moltke in late of the year 1914. He believed victory would be won on the west and only sent troops to the east because he already thought the west was taken, which earned him the enmity of Hindenburg and Ludendorff. And because of him, he did not ensure the conquest of Serbia. The next one was the Archduke Franz Ferdinand, which, as Jacob Robb talked about, he was assassinated, and his assassination was what sparked the whole war. The next one was Marshal Ferdinand Foch. Before the war broke out, Foch's military theories argued the French soldier disopposed to attacking, which heavily influenced the development of the French army. At the start of the war, he was given troops to command, but he made his name in collaborating and coordinating with allied commanders, so he worked a lot with the countries that they were allied with. The last one was Emperor Franz Joseph Habsburg I. His reign was 68 years, and his whole role was to keep the increasingly fractious empire together. He was largely against the war because he felt it would destabilize the nation, and the capture of Bosnia in 1908 was an aberration. The main events. So for the major events, we found a video online of this guy. He does a cool, kind of like puts it together in a poem/song rap thing, while reenacting it.
One bullet from a young Serbian's gun has triggered the spark from World War I, but out of one shot proved so lethal as to kill over 70 million people. It's time for the history bomb of World War I. Let's set the scene. Late 19th century, Germany was booming. There were signs of a storm brewing, but Emperor Kaiser Wilhelm II had plans to teach his rivals a lesson.
Now Deutschland is high, but not take a high. What word du syllable Zechmeier? Let Britain einfach Russi und Wahn. Fortune world is a Vaterland.
It's worth pointing out that the Kaiser was mentally unstable, but unfortunately for the rest of Europe, he was in charge. Germany's navy started to take notice.
Hey, Russia, have you heard this guy? I'm thinking of putting the army on standby.
I know, because it really is giving me nausea. But now we signed an agreement with Austria.
So tell her when we've got your back, we'll be here if they can no attack.
It was against this backdrop that Gavrilo Princip, the young Serbian nationalist, shot dead Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the heir to the Austrian throne, setting off a terrible chain of events. Are you ready? Let's go! Austria and Germany attack into Serbia, who allies with Russia didn't mention that earlier. Russia gets ready to advance, and now brings in their pals, France. Germany attack France as quick as they can, adopting a approach called the Schlieffen Plan. They go through Belgium, awful decision, as Belgium have friends, namely Great Britain, in come Italy. Now let's join the advance with the first British troops fighting in France. By November 1914, 400 miles of barbed wire and mud stretched from the Alps to Belgium. Commonwealth soldiers arrived from Australia, Africa and India, but still more troops were needed.
Men of Britain, there's much to do. Your time is now. Your country needs you.
Sir, we've just had news from Gallipoli.
Yes, but a resounding victory.
No, sir, 500,000 casualties and a telegram. Send help, please. Back in the trenches, there was more to fear as chemical weapons began to appear.
Yes, the next step, bubbling, no man. That's far better than nothing.
Sir, I'm seeing aspect of fire.
Yes, soldiers, let's get you to a nurse.
Behind the front line, volunteer nurses tended to the injured soldiers. Both at home and on the front line, women made tremendous contributions to the war effort.
Hold still, deep breath, I'll soon be through. It's barbaric what they've done to you.
Oh, thank you, miss. You're a real pearl. God, these trenches no place for a girl.
Neither are they fit for a man, but we're here to help the best we can. And who do you think manufactured your gun? Us girls will see this war is won.
1916 saw terrible losses on the Western Front. The Germans advanced to Verdun and the British went forward at the Somme, but neither battle proved decisive. Meanwhile, on the Eastern Front, the Russians were achieving some successes. Sir, news from the Russian army!
Blimey, that veteran's blown a long way. Let me guess, they've been pushed back.
No, actually, they've had a good crack. General Brusilov makes good progress. His wide attacks put Brits under stress. His advance no less than 60 miles.
Great news, I like your style.
Oh, hang on. And now his attacks have been stalled. German reserves have been called.
Oh, blast.
It would take new tactics and technology to break the deadlock on either front. In 1917, Germany made a fateful calculation by pursuing a ruinous naval strategy.
This war has gone on long enough. It's time for Deutschland to get down. The Allies need it to stay alive. Cut these off, but they cannot survive.
German U-boats attacked Allied shipping to cut off supply. Critically, they attacked American ships, and in response, the United States declared war on Germany. It would take another year, however, for American troops to actually arrive in Europe. In the meantime, a Russian revolutionary seized his moment.
My Russian brothers, listen in. Let me introduce myself. Vladimir Lenin. I promise to take this country on. But first, we
We need to kick out the Tsar and prove that was easy. Now everyone's equal. We'll have great land and peace for the people. I think Mother Russia's had enough of this war. I'll lead with the Germans to settle this score. The meeting took place in November 1917, and Russian land was divided by Germany into independent states, including the Ukraine. With Russia now out of the war, the Germans moved all efforts to the Western Front and planned a colossal effort in the spring of 1918. Ultimately, the offensive failed, and at this pivotal moment, the Americans finally arrived.
Hey, what's up? No photographs, please. We got your memo and... Jeez, things have gotten out of hand. Good thing you called up Uncle Sam. The enemy had better reach for the skies and light it up like the 4th of July.
In May 1918, 200,000 American troops were arriving per month, and after withstanding the German offensive, new technology and tactics proved decisive for the Allies.
Right, chaps. This is it. We have orders to make the hit. Keep behind the tanks. Use the Lewis gun. A creeping barrage will shatter the Hun. A laser protect. From the skies, then we'll hold the line until support arrives.
Finally, the Allies got some traction, putting the Germans out of action. At 11 a.m. on the 11th of November, the guns fell silent upon German surrender. All in all, a tragic loss. Europe secured, but at what cost? A generation lost. We are forever in debt. 100 years hence, lest we forget.
We thought that was a good video that outlined the major events, and it was pretty entertaining. Next up was the impact of the war on America.
So the impact on America, after the war, obviously Europe had to spend years and years recovering from the destruction of the war, and there was no such effect on America, so America were able to keep their factories and everything working, boosting their economy and industry. None of the American factories were affected by any part of the war, and purely out of necessity, because so many of the European factories have been affected. Americans' productivity increased to help supply for places that Europe would have normally supplied to. Because of this, America essentially had a head start on the rest of the world and emerged as a world industrial leader, and the economy boomed, which led to the Roaring Twenties, with a massive rise in consumerism for the wealthy. On top of this, because of America's late entry to the war, they didn't lose as many men as many of the other countries in the war. And as well as this, the role of women changed during the Great War. Women took up jobs of men who'd gone to the war and also worked as nurses in the trenches. And because of this, the influence and expectation of women and their role in society increased.
So,